Hello, welcome back to my channel. As you know, I have been MIA again for a while, but that's what happens when we go through these massive upgrades and there's a lot of shifting taking place. And one of the things that I have learned to do really well is to stay on my timeline and be in flow with what's presenting. Sometimes that means I make a video, and sometimes it means that I write. I know that there are other people out there that are making, tons of videos every single day, but I am not going to do that. I'm going to bring through what is most important for you to have an awareness of, and what is going to keep us in the highest timeline. That's just how it works for me. So I'm back. Here I am. We're going to have a video today. I'm excited. I thank you for joining me. To those of you who are new subscribers to my channel, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I did make a list of talking points that I would like to get to today, because we have a lot of big stuff going on. And for those of you who know me well, you know that I could really talk, and I could talk about 1,001 things and never get to the talking points. So I did make a list for myself. So I want to tackle that first. We are in the throes of a major shift taking place. Very exciting stuff, on the precipice of major transformation happening, and that has to do with this new moon in Aquarius that's going to actually finally anchor us into the age of Aquarius and get us out of this lead age of the Piscean era that we've been in. And as you know, it's a 26,000 year stint in it. So we've been under the repression and restriction of patriarchal abuse of power all of that time. But now here we are heading forward finally as we're making our way through this. And it hasn't been without some pain, right? And for some of us, maybe some challenges of what we would like to do, but haven't been able to do or follow through on. And that is just the way this goes. So being on our timeline, in sync with what's presenting in our reality, is the most important way for us to be in flow. So we're going to talk about some of that today. First, I wanted to share with you how my events unfolded, which is what brought me into this now moment of awareness that I'm having as what is taking place. So one of the most important aspects that has transpired is the awareness that we are heading into a humanity code on steroids. And that's going to be for the amplification of all of humanity, not just us, but all of humanity is going to be feeling this, is going to be affected by this, right? And so this is a very significant thing. And what is the humanity code? It's the 2222 code, only this time it's going to start on February 2nd. Tomorrow's February 1st. So it's going to, which is the new moon in Aquarius, and on February 2nd. So we have the 2 of February, we have the 2 for the 2nd, and then we have the 2022. So we have 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So we have 5 2s. And this is going to be a gateway sequence that is not going to end until February 22nd, when we have 6 2s. Now, think about how powerful that is, okay? Because the vibration of 6 is all about love. And we are in a 6th year, which is all about love. It's about love. It's communication. It is the coming together of community. So of course, it's going to end on the 22nd with a huge bang, right? And this is very significant. 22 is a master number. Think about on the 22nd, when we're in the 22 code. So we're like in the 3, right? Which is another big code, because 3 is a trinity. So it's a trinitized 6 code for the 22 activation of the humanity code, which every time the humanity code activates, it brings in another aspect that is amplified within the collective consciousness of humanity. So this is a master number working through every single individual on this earth plane. It's amplifying the animals, it's amplifying the planetary consciousness, it's amplifying every single being in the solar system, in our our light families, our future selves, all of that stuff, right? So it's very, very exciting to be in this time and have these just higher level activations that are taking place. But it can also be very challenging in a way, because it is working through our body and it is creating monumental shifting that is sometimes not pleasant to experience. And we have to be okay with that, because that's part of our shift. It's how our physical body is going to transcend in order for us to take it with us. Because if we're not allowing our body to go through the process of ascension that it needs to go through via these ascension upgrades, ascension symptoms, as they say in the third dimension, right? In fifth dimensional and higher, we want to call them upgrades, so that we're aligning with these higher timelines and not bringing ourselves into the 3D timeline again when we're trying to bring our body into an ascended state of being. I hope that makes sense for you, because that's very, very important that we let go of the terminology that is the lower level terminology that continues to keep us stuck. Okay, so it's very important that we allow our bodies to transition and come through with us. And that means that we accept and embrace these ascension upgrades as we're going through this process of upgrading ourselves. The magnetic shifts on the earth are taking place in a huge way. The magnetics are shifting. We can feel it because sometimes we feel the pull of it in our field. I was walking in the park on Wednesday of last week, and this particular park that I've ridden in many, many times on horseback, because I used to lease a horse over there, is a park that has little footbridges for the walking section of it when you're on foot and you're not on horseback. And these little footbridges go over streams and part of the river that's in there. And it's just beautiful. But this time Wednesday, when I was there, I could feel my field expanding and contracting and expanding and contracting. And I was like, woof, we're going through magnetic shifts again. And I could hear it in my ear when the pitch goes out and it feels like somebody plugged up my ear and I can't hear anything. That's another indicator that we're going through a magnetic shift. So we had these shifts taking place. And then later that night, as I was home and relaxing, I started to feel myself feeling these upgrades that were coming through. And I could feel very clearly that this was a huge shift in my electromagnetic field as I was tapped into the magnetic shift of the electromagnetic field of Gaia. And so I just allowed myself to roll with this in this activation that I was happening, which happened to take me offline all of Friday night. I was struggling all of Thursday. I had client sessions, but I was still capable of doing them. And then getting in bed and just resting in between my sessions, which is what I'm notorious for, especially when I'm going through activations. But on Friday, I just could not do the in-person sessions. I just couldn't. I couldn't hold anybody else in my field. I needed to be in bed. So I canceled my in-person, and I had one that was a phone session, and I made it through just barely and rested the rest of the day, really stayed in bed all day on Friday to just integrate the codes, and finally came back online on Saturday. Thank goodness, because I had my workshop on activating self-healing, which I really didn't want to miss. But as I always know, I am in right and divine timing with everything. And my activation finalized that morning. So I was able to get myself together and get prepared for that workshop in a very short period of time. Now, this activation was very, very different than some of the ones that I've experienced in the past. Usually I can manage and manipulate my energy field, and for me, when I have an activation, it feels like my energy field collapses in around me. It like cocoons spoons me. And then it's almost like taking a suction cup and having to pop it out again and pull it back out around me. That's just how it feels for me. It might feel different for you. But what I noticed this time is I was not able to work it with feeling into it and just working those areas that needed to be pulled out and put back into place and fix my field around myself, which made it very challenging for me. And in that moment, I had the awareness that the electromagnetic field that's around me is no longer the same field that was around me the day before my activation had started. And then tuning in on a deeper level, the message was coming through. And I know many people are tuning into the Elohim right now, but the message was coming through loud and clear from that level of consciousness that was residing within me as I was tuning into my highest levels, my high states of being, the higher realms, if you want to say, because everything, of course, is us, right? And the message was that Gaia had shifted and released all of the distortion of the old paradigm from her field, and her electromagnetic field has now been refreshed. The levels of encapsulation have been released and everything is renewed, which is in perfect and divine timing for this beautiful next level shift of the new moon in Aquarius and this humanity code coming in on February 2nd to usher in the next level of everything beautiful and blissful and sublime. And that's what we need to know. That's the most important part of this, but there is more. So for this activation, the thing that was most interesting, hand in hand with this, yes, I had the third eye pressure that was so intensified. It was actually making my eyes very painful. I couldn't see, I couldn't open my eyes. Felt like I wanted to take my eyes out and just rest them. It was very intensified, very, very painful. The back of my neck, the top of the crown of my head, across my shoulders, down my spine, the 33 solar discs in our back were activating as the 33 solar discs are activating in Gaia right now. Okay. And those code sequences are firing. They're firing within our field. We are attached to everything that Gaia does. So we're going to feel it too. In this intensified activation, massive vibrating inside my head as my consciousness was expanding and my awareness was expanding with regard to what was taking place through this transition that I was having. And I will tell you that when we're about to go through an activation, and I knew it was coming on because Wednesday morning I had gotten up and I looked in the mirror as I was getting myself together to head off on my walk. And I thought to myself, wow, I look like I aged 20 years overnight. And then I thought, well, that's usually an indication that I'm about to go through an activation. And of course, that's what happened. And then right after going through the activation, I feel like I de-aged 10 years in that activation and that DNA upgrade. And it's actually reversed the aging process. And I feel younger and lighter. So see if you notice any of those things. I'm going to tell you, there is nothing you can do when you're going through an activation and your neck is killing you and it's intensified and your back is intensified and it hurts to lay down. It's like every cell in your body is screaming in pain. It hurts to lay down. You're constantly flipping back and forth, and that flipping back and forth as you're in your bed laying down, flipping from one side to another, is an awakened state of meditation, believe it or not, where we are flipping from our past to the future, past to the future, past to the future, and then we lay on our back and we're face up and we're in the present, right? So when we're on our left side, we're working through the past. When we're on our right side, we're clearing timelines for the future, and then we're face up, we're like in the present moment state of being. And that's just what comes into my awareness and what I have always known it to be as I work in these higher states of consciousness that I want to bring through for you. Why is this important? Because all of this is important now so that we get out of the way and stop tuning in on a level of victimhood that we are having to go through this. We can't be in a state of victimhood and be a good receiver and receive these codes and be in alignment and stay in the highest timeline. We just can't. It's not possible. We have to accept it and embrace it all. And sometimes, yeah, it sucks really bad, especially this last one. And if you guys are going through it too, you know what I'm talking about, because it was extremely painful. And through that process, sometimes there's a template wipe in there, like what I went through, where you feel like you're dying. It's so intensified. You feel like you're dying. And it was like, oh my gosh, let's get this over with already. But yet it's not. And we have to understand, the more we surrender and let go of the resistance to what is and just be, the faster we transform, transcend through it. And boy, we're back online and fired up. And I can't tell you how excited I am to be with you here today, because we are shifting into higher states of everything, shifting so fast right now that the narrative that's out there in the non-reality, in the illusionary state of being, right, in the narrative that's playing out in the government with everything restrictive and COVID and vaxes and all of that stuff, is going to start to shift so fast. It has to. It has no choice. It has no foothold anymore. The density is not here for it to hold on to. The issue here for us is going to be in just going with the flow. It's going to be like being in a raft on the rapids going downstream very, very quickly. And oh my gosh, that rapid is carrying that little raft that you're on so fast through these bubbling waters that it's making your head spin. And all you really need to do is just sit back and let it yourself be navigated through it. That is what this is going to feel like as these shifts and changes happen abruptly and very quickly. And what that is really doing is that's helping us let go. It's helping us learn how to let go of the resistance that we have been feeling, the resistance that we have learned how to be in since birth, because that's the time dynamics that we've been playing in, right? And we were actually born into that in strand 2 of our DNA in our 2-strand helix. Strand 1 is about the body and the physicality of the body, but strand 2 happens to be about time dynamics and the duality and polarity that we play in. We were born into that. It's coded in our DNA. Okay. I just did a class on activating self-healing, which we talked all about the strands of DNA and how to activate self-healing. If you missed that workshop, you could go check it out in my store. It's up. It's a 2-part workshop. Lots of really important high-level information in that workshop. I will leave the link down below, but we were born in with that. It's in our strands of DNA, okay? And we have to consciously let it go, consciously shift out of that old awareness, making the highest level choices so that we're always on our highest timeline. And we're not playing in that lower level distortion, because we can't. We're in the process of changing history. Everything is changing. We have to change too. The outer world is an old reflection of what once was. It's not our truth, but the understanding or awareness has yet to catch up, because in our head, we keep thinking that that's real out there. It's not, but it's only showing up because we haven't changed in here. We have to choose the realities and the timelines that we want to see. How do we do that? So I'll give you an example. The other day, we had a massive snowstorm here Friday through Saturday here on Long Island, and it dumped almost 2 feet of snow. So Saturday night, as it had ended, I went out with my friend and we were shoveling, trying to dig ourselves out, which was a massive undertaking because it was a huge amount of snow. And so our neighbor next door, who, you know, has notoriously had people blocking our driveway, I'm sure unintentional on his part, but there's very little room to park in front of his house because he has tenants that live there and everything. So instead of parking in front of our house, these people choose to park in a direction in front of his house that puts their car blocking our driveway. So it makes it very challenging to get out. And is it frustrating? Yeah, absolutely. And has it been frustrating the last 3 years that we've lived here? Yes, very, very frustrating. Has never come to words, has never come to blows, has never come to anything. As we always try to hold the higher perspective and understand that, unconsciousness is unconsciousness, and it's going to come in the form of somebody not being conscious, blocking our driveway. And that's just how it is. However, this night, in particular, as I'm shoveling, my friend came back in the house because she had just had enough. And I was still out there trying to brave through as much as I could get through. He was out there snow blowing with his snow blower, his driveway and everything. And his tenant was helping him shoveling. And then he went down into the street to clear out the front of his property. And I kept thinking to myself, please do not blow the snow in front of my driveway, because the guy across the street who does the plowing here has no consideration and makes mountains in front of my house. It's the easiest place for him to put the snow. Hey, I get it. No judgments, but I just didn't need any extra work for myself to try and clear so that we could get the cars out and be safe in our own coming and going to the house. And in that moment, I thought to myself, no, I'm not going to think about that. I'm not going to think about him putting the snow in front of as a matter of fact, what I'm going to think about is how unity consciousness is kicking in now. And it would be so nice if in the state of unity, we could clear that timeline where he has consistently impacted us in a way of blocking our driveway, which has made a negative impact in our relationship, if you will, although we've, again, never spoken or never had words. And this time, instead, we could clear it through coming together in the state of unity, where he actually offers to right the wrong of parking in front of our driveway all the time by snow blowing the driveway. How miraculous and fun and beautiful would that be if that were to happen? And within the moment, and it wasn't more than seconds that I had that thought, and I was smiling to myself at how I had shifted my thoughts and shifted my consciousness to something more positive and powerful. Then all of a sudden I hear somebody yelling to me, hey, would you like me to help clear your driveway with my snowblower? And it was him at the end of my driveway offering to snowblow my driveway. Yes, can you imagine how amazing is that? And I was like, yes, I would love that. Thank you so much. Well, in that coming together, he cleaned the driveway. I did try to offer him money because I would have ended up paying somebody to help us at some point, to which he refused. And he was like, no, it's perfectly good. It was my pleasure to do it. And in that moment, I was like, wow, we healed and cleared that timeline where there was distortion with the parking in front of the driveway and any animosity, because he knew it was happening. And sometimes it's for him, sometimes it's for the tenant, but, trying to manage all of that, is beyond sometimes comprehension or expectation. And holding that higher timeline, I didn't even have to address it. It cleared and righted itself. And the most amazing part of this whole thing is that it did clear the timeline, and now it feels like everything has been renewed. So we've had this monumental shift in all of this. And that's how we're holding the higher timeline. We're holding in our consciousness, because I don't want to play in the lower dimensional frequencies of distortion. We can't do that anymore because it just doesn't work. So this is where I train my thought process, my emotions and my actions and my experience to reflect a new reality in my outer world, so that I can have a better experience in my outer world experience, because we're actually still accessing both worlds at one time. We're accessing the 3D world at the same time we're accessing the 5D world, right? When we get those amazing 5D skies where it's all colorful and it's pastel in nature, that's 5D. But then when we have some kind of experience that's less than stellar, we're back in 3D, and we're constantly vacillating with our energy field. So we're the ones that have to be in a conscious state to make these higher level choices, because we're accessing both of them. And it's always through the checking of our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions, because let's face it, we're used to running the same program over and over again. We're used to running the same thoughts over and over again out of habit. Right? That's how we do this. It's a habit. It's a program. It's like the program in my computer. It runs because it's a program. It's the same thing with us. We're programmed through our expression of being us. And we have to change that. And it takes consciousness. It takes greater awareness. It takes tuning into our I am presence. That's what it takes. When we tune into our I am presence and we realize that we are the Christ consciousness that we're waiting for, we're waiting to see it happen, but we're it. It's not going to come from anywhere. It's us, right? There's nobody coming to save us. It is us saving us, making higher line choices. And what's interesting is I'm seeing this playing out too. Some of you are very, very much in your alignment and in your awareness, especially as we go through these upgrades. And, you know, just the other day, this beautiful, beautiful soul who has been connecting with me, and it's kind of like the almost like a mother-son kind of relationship that is, I've kind of taken him under my wing and have been helping to mentor him, this beautiful young soul, and who has a challenged relationship with his real mom. And it didn't start out like that for me. It started out whereas I felt like a connection to him and wanted to assist and support him in what he was dealing with, and could feel his purpose here on the earth, which tied into my purpose for being here. And these conversations have been very enlightening and very inspiring and thought-provoking many, many times. And the other day he reached out to me on his highest level and he said, you know, I feel like I'm activating strand 6 of my DNA. And I thought, how profound, because that's embodiment, right? Strand 6 is the embodiment strand. And I thought to myself, wow, how profound that he knows what strand he's activating, but the uncertainty or awareness of what aspect of that strand it is, but yet I have that knowledge. Now, I couldn't tell you what strand I'm activating in my body at any given time, but I can tell you what it is that I'm activating, the aspect of it, and then I could tie in the strand to it. And I thought, how profound in this awareness for us both to have this coming together and the sharing in this way to validate both of us for the higher state of being in our awareness, right? So my point in explaining that or expressing that is not to have judgment for where you are in your process and judge yourself against another's process, right? Because that's just playing down into the lower levels again. And we really don't want to do that. We want to stay in the highest states of consciousness at every given moment, right? Because my journey is not going to be like your journey, and my journey is not going to be like his journey, and his journey is not like my journey, and his journey won't be like your journey, and your journey won't be like somebody else's journey. We have to be aware of that so that we're not judging ourselves in everything that we're doing, and we're just allowing ourselves to evolve in our fullness. Okay. So lots of very interesting things happening. We have to stay on our timeline. We have to let things unfold naturally. We have to allow ourselves to participate in what is transpiring. It's going to move fast. It might look chaotic at times. It might look ugly at times. If you're paying attention and tuning into, see, I don't see any of that because I never turn the TV on. I don't tune into any of it. That's how I'm always on my highest timeline, because that stuff just doesn't interest me. And for all intents and purposes, I don't feel the restriction of any of it. Okay. I don't play into it. I don't tune into it. I tune into where I feel most called to align with. And that's what I want for you. That's how we play this out. That's how we navigate in our highest reality. That's how we stay in the higher realms. That's how we shift our consciousness higher and bring more of that 5D state of being in, right? We want to be in higher 5D states of consciousness. We want to be in our co-creator states. Speaking of co-creation, please, if you haven't, please join me over on my Instagram page for our weekly art challenge. It's 5D inspired art. I will leave the link below. Please join us. Even if you're not an artist, it doesn't matter. We're all doing our best, but having fun each week with the word that is coming up. Some people are writing beautiful poetry. Others are drawing. Others are painting, creating. Some are taking photographs. If you take a photograph, it has to be whatever the prompt is for the week. I believe this week's prompt is path. My beautiful soul sister Loretta runs that page. So if you do check the page out and you message the page for anything, please know it is not me running the page. It is Loretta. So stop in, take a look, see what everybody's been creating. It's a lot of fun. We're really having a good time with it. And I invite you to join us there. Keeps us in the higher creative timelines. So I think I've covered everything that I want to cover. I would love to hear from you, especially since we haven't connected in a while via a video. Drop me a line below. Let me know how you're doing. Know that I am sending infinite love and appreciation to you. So much love and appreciation. I can't even express it to you. Thank you so much for supporting my work and being here with me. I do my best to come in here. The channel is not monetized. I get very little in contributions to it. So, it can be very challenging for me to do certain things that I would like to do here. And I make a video when I have the time to do that, such as today. So I know I've crammed in a lot in this video. If you find it to be overwhelming or you're falling asleep during it, you're getting an activation, because I do bring through a light transmission for an activation. Please take it in small increments, and just know that we're all in this together. I am here for you always, posting in the community when I do have something to share in writing. So please, if you have not checked out the community posts, please make sure you do that, because I am never not here. I'm always here in some way, shape, or form. But I'm not going to come on here if I don't have anything to offer you that is somewhat significant to assist you in your own personal journey of ascension. Okay, that's just how I work. All right, that is it. So know that I love you infinitely. I wish you a wonderful whatever it is that you're doing. I look forward to seeing you again back here soon. If you have any questions, please drop them below. I hope to see some of you for my next workshop, which will be at the end of the month. It's the last Saturday of the month, generally at 1 o'clock on that Saturday at the end of the month. I will make a post as soon as I have an idea of what it is that I'm going to be presenting. I have been prompted not only by my higher realms, but also some of the participants of this last workshop, as we talked about DNA. Some of them were asking questions about soul contracts and relationships and how we can heal through soul contracts. So maybe keeping in the realm of healing. And I might be doing a part 2 to soul contracts and bringing in some new higher aligned information on that. I don't know. We'll see. It's always fun to not know now and wait and see what comes towards that time period. So I look forward to connecting with you all soon. That's it. Take care. I love you so very much. See you soon. Bye-bye.